In this video, we're going to use Prosolve to take some basic measurements on surface echocardiography. So we have a test patient loaded. These forward or back buttons can get us back and forth. If you need some basic understanding of how to use the toolbar up here, please see my other video. So we can stop it by using the forward or back arrow or hitting pause up here. And so we want to find end diastole, so just when the mitral valve closes. By hitting right click, we can go to basic measurements, 2D, length, and we can start making basic measurements to determine whether or not the sonographer measured this posterior wall properly or the interventricular septum. Maybe we think that there's something off in terms of the left atrial dimensions here. But this gives us a basic overview on whether or not the dimensions that were listed in the echo report are valid. And we can end at systole, and we can redo these measurements by right-clicking, basic measurements, 2D, and length in order to double check. If we wanted to override the measurements from the sonographer, we could go up to report. We can go to analysis and then measurement list. On the side, they have some of the dimensions that were listed, but we can go through under 2D echo, parasternal long axis, and we can remeasure the interventricular septum and diastole. So we can measure from here to here, careful not to pick up some of the RV. It has this value here, we hit done, and now it becomes populated within the report itself. Same thing if we wanted to choose the diastolic diameter. We can measure it through the center here. Again, it pops up, click done, and it gets populated into the report. You can see that if we go to some of these, so to get rid of this measurement box, let's go down and look at the aortic valve and the parasternal long short axis views. So we have a 3-leaflet aortic valve. I want to see the aortic valve just as it's opening. So here it is. It's a great picture of it opening, maybe a little bit foreshortened. You can use this plus button up here to zoom in on it, go back to analysis, measurement list, and then this time under 2D echo, instead of in the parasternal long axis, we're going to use parasternal short axis. And we can actually click on mitral valve area. When you hit right click, it actually tells you what the mitral valve area is. Hit done, and again it populates into your report. These are often useful tools. Underneath here, in terms of preferences, sometimes it has you measure it using your mouse. It's difficult to kind of trace the outline if you would prefer that. I think that's how it's set up. You can go under preferences, and then I use point-to-point for traces just because I think it's easier. This is how it's often used on the machine as well. And click OK. And that's how you update that. Lastly, I'd like to show how to measure an ejection fraction. So unfortunately this might be cut off a little bit, but if we freeze it here during diastole, go to measurement list, 2D echo, EF, single plane method of discs. We're in a 2-chamber view. So if we click on diastolic volume, again using the click method, we can trace the outside of the ventricle. Probably a little bit off there, but that's okay. No, not adjust the midline. Gives us a volume. We can click on systolic volume now. Using the forward and back arrows, we can now measure. Careful to exclude the papillary muscle. And now it has our systolic volume. And then the difference between the two is calculated automatically for you. I have a 2 screen, so on my right screen you can see that this is my report that's getting generated. And all these measurements here are getting automatically updated into the report. Briefly, I'd like to go through, if we had a prior echo on this patient, you could click on serial studies. And you can click underneath the other one, and a 2 screen would pop up where you could actually look at the all the images from the prior echocardiogram and compare them to this one to better understand whether or not there's been a change in the overall ejection fraction. I'll probably post some specific videos looking at both aortic valve or mitral valve pathology, and I'll use this one for just an introduction to the basic measurements. I hope this was helpful.